So the very first episode of Game of Thrones opens up with three men, Jared, Waymore, and Will. They're going beyond the wall into the haunted forest to look for wildling raiders. This is the first time we see the wall in both the books and the show, and man, is it impressive. Will ends up finding the wildlings, and they've been butchered, chopped into pieces, and aligned into some weird symbol, almost as if someone has made an offering to some strange, malevolent deity. So, Will goes back and tells Waymore, and of course Waymore is being a total douche. Waymore is actually the least experienced of the three. He's new to the Night's Watch, so you might ask yourself, why the heck is this guy in charge? Well, the answer is quite simple, because he's highborn. If you look closely, his clothes are a lot nicer than the other two, he has a better sword. Basically, this scene established one of the main ongoing themes of Game of Thrones. The highborn making terrible decisions that affect everyone else and lead to terrible things happening. So they go back to where Will found the corpses, at the insistence of Waymore regardless of the protest of the two older, more experienced men, but the wildlings are gone. Then the White Walkers attack. And by the way, the design of the White Walkers here is way cooler and way scarier in my opinion than how they look later on. So the White Walkers kill Waymore, they kill Jared, but they let Will escape. Why is that? Well, isn't it obvious? The White Walkers were trying to send a message. We're back. Will ends up deserting the Night's Watch but gets captured by the Starks, aka the Wardens of the North. The punishment for desertion, of course, is death. So Will is brought to the chopping block and he says to Eddard Stark, "I saw the White Walkers," which clearly troubles Eddard, but not enough to keep him from removing his head with the ancient Valyrian steel sword, Ice. So Bran, Eddard Stark's son, who was forced to watch the execution, is all like, "Did he really see the White Walkers, Dad?" And Ned's all like, "I don't know, maybe." On the way back to the castle, the group discovers a dead stag and a dead direwolf that have killed each other. Now this is obviously a bit of foreshadowing about the relationship between the Starks and the Baratheons and how they end up destroying each other. But something else is here that I think is important that a lot of people miss. While the stag festers and rots, from the direwolf is born new life. So each of the Stark children is given a direwolf puppy to raise, including Eddard Stark's bastard son, Jon Snow, who gets the runt of the litter. So Eddard goes to the God's Wood in ritual because he obviously doesn't like to kill, and it is there that he gets the news that not only has his mentor and father figure Jon Arryn died, but also that the king himself rides for Winterfell. Muscles everywhere. Bran sees the king coming down from atop the castle and he runs down to tell everybody, but he gets caught by his mother Catelyn, who's all like, "Dude, seriously, stop climbing, it's like mad dangerous." And he's like, "Yeah, whatever." The king gets to Winterfell and we get the scene with the most principal characters in one place that we've seen since. Like seriously, I can't think of another scene in the show since then where this many main characters were in one scene together. You've got the Hound, Jaime, Joffrey, Sansa, Hodor, Robb, Queen Cersei being almost as extra as Mariah Carey. And trust me, it's way worse in the books. Like, the little carriage she has in the show in the books is 3 stories tall and is pulled by like 40 horses. It's insane. King Robert is there, Eddard is there. Weird like that half of these characters are dead now. King Robert comes up and he's like, "I want to go to the crypts to cry over a dead woman that never really loved me and was only going to marry me because her father said she had to." And Cersei's all like, "Wouldn't you rather wait, my love?" And Robert's like, "Shut up, bitch." So Ned and Robert go to the crypts and Robert says to Ned, "I would name you Hand of the King." And Eddard's like, "I don't know, man." And Robert's like, "Well, think about it." So King Robert and Lord Eddard Stark go to the tomb of Ned's sister Lyanna Stark, whose death is one of the key mysteries in all of Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire. And Robert starts going on and on about how much he hates the Targaryens. And right after that, we get our first ever Targaryen scene. We have Daenerys Targaryen looking sadly out of a window. Then her weird, creepy brother Viserys walks up and he's like, "Put on this dress, I'm selling you to a savage horse lord, but first let me fondle them titties." In all seriousness though, this scene very subtly illustrates how much more intelligent Daenerys is than Viserys. And I'll explain. Dany and Viserys have been staying with Illyrio Mopapas, the Magister of Pentos, and he's been really nice to them for no apparent reason. Viserys, being the smug idiot that he is, assumes that Illyrio is helping because of their royal blood, but Dany actually questions his kindness in this scene, saying, "We've been his guests for over a year, and he hasn't asked us for anything." Good point. Why is he helping them? Well, the show's not going to explain it since that storyline was completely cut out, so I'll just tell you. Illyrio very likely intended for both Dany and Viserys to die with the Dothraki, or at least go away and never return, because Illyrio was grooming someone else for rule over Westeros, and that person is Aegon, son of Rhaegar Targaryen, Dany and Viserys' older brother. Well, not really. Every indication seems to point to the fact that Aegon is not actually Aegon, and is in fact the son of Illyrio himself. So Illyrio has basically been filling Viserys' head with lies, feeding his delusions of grandeur, while all the while planning to betray him. So Drogo, King of the Savages, arrives, and he has a look at Dany, his bride-to-be. He likes her, and the ceremony is complete. Back at Winterfell, the Starks are hosting a huge feast in celebration of the royal visit, and if you didn't already get the sense that Robert does not respect Queen Cersei, then you certainly should get it now. He very openly kisses and gropes other women, and by the way, if I was one of those other women, I'd think twice before doing this in front of Queen Cersei. That serving wench is probably dead in a well somewhere. So Benjen Stark arrives and greets Jon Snow, who's not at the feast in the show, though in the book he is. Jon tells Benjen that he wants to join the Night's Watch, and Benjen's like, "I don't know, man, the Night's Watch kinda sucks and you can't get married or ever have kids." But Jon Snow's like, "I don't care." The thing is, Jon Snow knows that he's a bastard, and he will never inherit anything. Robb will be the Lord of Winterfell, all of his siblings will be married off, he has no place in the world, so the Night's Watch seems like a good option for him. His whole life living in the North, he's heard stories of honor of the Night's Watch and how the Night's Watch protects the realm. Heck, even his uncle, who he clearly has a lot of respect for, is a member. So in Jon Snow's 15-year-old mind, the Black Brotherhood is really the only good choice, because he obviously can't stay at Winterfell. So Tyrion, who's been eavesdropping, comes out of the shadows after Benjen goes inside, and he gives Jon Snow some brilliant advice. "Never forget what you are. The world won't. Wear it like armor, and it can never be used to hurt you." This is a quote straight from the mind of George R. R. Martin, and I think it's a quote we should all live by. After the feast, Catelyn and Ned are in their bedchambers when Catelyn gets a strange letter in the middle of the night from her sister, Lysa, who was married to Jon Arryn. A cool thing is, in the books, Cat and Lysa have a secret language that they write to each other in, and Lysa has written this letter in their secret language so no one can read it but Catelyn. This letter informs Catelyn that Jon Arryn didn't simply die, he was murdered by the Lannisters. Then you get the incredible shot where you have Cat on one side trying to convince Ned to stay, and Luwin on the other side trying to convince Ned to go. The angel on one side and the devil on the other. Next we've got Dany and Drogo's wedding. Dany here is clearly unnerved by Dothraki culture at this point, and it all seems very foreign and strange to her. We get our first scene with Jorah Mormont, who brings Dany songs and histories of the Seven Kingdoms as a wedding present. But of course, the gift that stands out the most is Illyrio's gift of priceless stone dragon eggs from Shy. Dany's final gift is her horse Silver, given to her by Drogo. Let's just take a moment here to admire how creepy Viserys is. So now we have one of the more controversial scenes of Season 1 of Game of Thrones. Now this scene does go down quite a bit differently in the books. In the novel, you do get the sense that Dany is far more receptive of Drogo's advances. Drogo is also more gentle, but here it just seems more like she gets raped. So Ned has agreed to go to King's Landing and be the hand of the king to Robert Baratheon, and they all decide to go on a hunting party. Bran, being the troublemaker that he is still not listening to his mother, and he decides to go climbing again. This time, he makes his way to an abandoned tower, where he hears strange noises. He looks in the window to find Queen Cersei and her own twin brother, Jaime, totally doing it. Bran is caught. Cersei looks terrified, and for a second you think Jaime may let him go, but then Jaime pushes him out the window. The episode ends. Now, for some reason, everyone blames Cersei for this, but Cersei didn't push Bran out the window. It was Jamie. This is obviously a great episode. I've never watched this with anyone that didn't immediately want to watch the next episode. The first season of Game of Thrones sticks very closely to Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire book series, especially when compared to the later seasons. This episode is a great introduction to the world. The acting is amazing, the characters are great, the costumes are amazing, the sets are fantastic. You really feel like you are in this world. I gave the first episode of Game of Thrones a 9 out of 10. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe for more ideas of Ice and Fire.